Hi, I'm Dave, founder of Halloween Year Round, and I'm here to talk about our first official horror movie of 2024, Blumhouse's Night Swim, a movie that I wish I had better things to say about because it's the one that kicks off the new year, but it is what it is. Historically, this has always been kind of a rough weekend for movies in general. Like that first weekend of January, Christmas is over, New Year's has come and gone, and all that stands before you is seasonal depression and the bills from Christmas coming in. So that's why not a lot of big blockbusters are ever going to be released that first weekend of January, which is why horror movies, they're lower budget, they tended to kind of come in and swoop it up. And, they were hit or miss. 2022, you had Grudge, that weird soft reboot that was not very well received. And then last year, you had Megan. That was a surprise hit that wound up taking the world by storm, thanks to social media and, Megan's weird TikTok dance. But I am sad to report that 2024 is back to normal with a not so great horror movie kicking off the year. But real quick, before we get to the main part of the video and reviewing Night Swim, I just want to let you guys know Halloween Year Round has a Patreon now. Definitely check it out. I'll put a link in the description. You can join for just $5. That's it. That's like a third of what Netflix costs nowadays. And with that, you get cool exclusive stuff. You get early releases on videos, and every month, my wife and I are going to record. Starting this year, we're going to start recording a full length commentary of a horror movie that the patrons pick. You can make us watch whatever you want, and then we'll review it and then argue and bicker about it as we watch it. And fun will be had by all. So definitely check that out. If you can contribute, really, really appreciate it. Really helps the channel. If not, there's still always the, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff helps too. So on to the video. So I am gonna get into spoilers with this. Here's your warning. I'll link my spoiler-free written review in the description in case you want to check that out. But I mean, for a movie like this, who really cares if it's spoiled? That's the level it's on. This one frustrated me, and I'll tell you why. It feels like an American remake of an Asian horror film, even though it's not. Like, it has that same, just very like generic PG-13 early 2000s vibe that, like, The Ring was a masterpiece. The Grudge was all right. All the ones that followed weren't. I'm talking Dark Water. I'm talking Uninvited. I'm talking One Missed Call. Night Swim feels like it belongs in that latter group, even though it's not a remake of an Asian horror film, though it kind of tricks you into thinking it is because it does involve an Asian family as part of the Haunted Pool's backstory, which I'll get to. But it is, in fact, a remake of a 4-minute short film from like 10 years, I think it was 10 years ago, it was 2014, also called Night Swim. And that one just captured the essence and the vibe of like a creepy swimming pool at night and something being in there. And it works as a short film because when you're doing a 4-minute short film, you're not trying to convey any major themes. You're not trying to tell a long story. You're not trying to do a character arc. 4-minute short horror film, you're really just trying to capture a vibe and scare people. And that original film did that really, really well. And even, the director himself kind of admitted how big a challenge that was going to be to like expand that into a feature length story. And unfortunately, I don't think it all works. So you have the Waller family. You got Wyatt Russell and Carrie Condon. Yes, I know they have character names, but I'm just going to call them Wyatt Russell and Carrie Condon. They have a teenage daughter and I guess like a preteen son. Wyatt Russell is a former baseball player. He's struggling with an MS diagnosis, very sad. And he's kind of reeling with the idea that he's never going to be, a professional athlete ever again, and he's losing that, physicality that he had, which, I mean, just on the surface level, that's something I really related to. I had some about a year and a half ago. I had some medical issues. I was in the hospital for a couple days. I'm mostly okay now. But part of what happened was I had this like severe like pain and weakness in my joints. And to this day, the doctors have never been able to figure out exactly what it was. They tested me for every disease known to humanity. It was comforting knowing that, like, oh, here's a long list of terrible diseases that I now know I don't have because they tested me for them to rule them out. So silver linings and all that. But even to this day, like my knees are weaker than they used to be, and then I get this like weird thing in my joints, like in my wrist, where like I can barely touch my pinky to my thumb, and then I struggle to even like hold up three. Like, look, I can't hold up three fingers. I get like this pain here, and I can't do it. So I got to do the German three like that.
He ordered 3 glasses. We order 3 glasses. That's the German 3.
I related to what he was going through. And I think that Wyatt Russell and Carrie Condon are both really, really talented actors. And it's like they do the best they can with this material, but they are better than this material that they're getting. Wyatt Russell himself, was a former ice hockey player. He never wanted to be an actor. He wanted to be an athlete, and he only stopped being a professional hockey player because of an injury, much like his character here. And then he pivoted into acting, and now, I mean, he's making a name for himself. With this, with Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Monarch, the Godzilla MonsterVerse TV show, where he and his dad Kurt Russell played the old and young version of the same character. And of course, Carrie Condon. I've been a fan of hers since Rome. Back for those who remember that really good HBO show. She also plays Mike's daughter-in-law on Better Call Saul. So very, very talented cast you've got. It's just, you can tell that this was a movie that started off with a basic premise of that short film, and they're like, we got to pad this out into like a feature length runtime and just figure out all this stuff to throw in there. And it shows. It does. It goes through all the generic stuff. Family moves to new house. There's a creepy pool. You know, husband falls into the pool and almost drowns when they're looking at the house, but decides, hey, let's buy it anyway. The teenage girl's trying to fit in at school. There's this guy that she likes, and he's on the swim team. So she's like, oh, if we buy the house with the pool, I can practice swimming, and then I can impress him and join the swim team and all. Like it follows all the steps exactly as you would expect it to follow. It has the creepy backstory of like, oh, did you know a little girl disappeared in this pool 30 years ago? It has that part in every supernatural PG-13 horror movie where the dad slowly loses his mind and is like becoming possessed or insane and then wants to hurt the family. And then the mom becomes like this investigative reporter and like digs into the history of the house and the pool. And then it turns out that this house was built on a magical spring where the spring water was like, it granted you a wish. So long story short, the dad, Wyatt Russell, he wishes to be in peak physical condition again. And I don't even know that it's an active choice he makes, but it's just like it's something that he wants. So when he starts going in the pool for water therapy, he starts getting better. Like he starts getting stronger again, and it's the magical pool water. Well, the wife comes to find out that it comes at a price, always does. It's essentially a horror movie version. This is not, it's being billed as like, Jaws, but in a pool. Not really. It's actually a horror movie version of a wishing well. Whatever you wish will come true, but it comes at a cost, comes at a price, comes with a sacrifice. We come to find out that it was an Asian family that lived there 30 years earlier, the little girl who disappeared. she had a brother who was very sick, and the mom wished for her son to be better, and essentially like sacrificed her daughter to it, which is pretty messed up, pretty disturbing. But I don't like the way the movie makes it so that the parent making the wish and making the sacrifice is possessed by like the demon or spirits of the pool. I almost would have liked it better if it was like a conscious choice they made, because it leaves them on the hook for a lot more. And I think it makes for a much more compelling story if you're like, oh my God, they were willing to do that for that. Because if they're possessed, well, then it doesn't that disclaim them of all liability, or guilt. So much like with that, the dad is slowly becoming possessed. There's this scene, they're having a pool party, and they're messing around the pool, and this weird like black stuff comes into his nose. And again, with the imagery of like a creepy ghost woman with long black hair, is this movie trying to make us think it's a remake of an Asian horror movie? It has. I'm convinced that they took the short film and said we need to pad this out to a good 90 minutes. Oh, let's follow that formula. Let's follow the formula of The Ring or The Grudge. Except let's not do it as well. So in the end, culminates together with Carrie Condon having to go save her son because he's the one who's been chosen for the sacrifice. He's the weak one. Now, here's where this movie shines. So, like I said, Wyatt Russell and Carrie Condon are great actors, and they're doing the best they can with this material. So, they themselves, I really like in it. I also really, really liked, from a technical standpoint, the cinematography, particularly the underwater cinematography. This is a movie that cost probably 5% of what Avatar: The Way of Water cost. But it did some really impressive shots and sequences entirely underwater. And by the looks of it, I mean, it could very easily have been like faked with CGI, but this movie doesn't have a big enough budget to have CGI look that good. So it looks like most of it is being done practically. And there's a scene where she like swims down into the pool, but then finds like within the pool, there's this almost like this opening that leads into this like much larger underwater world that goes on and on and on. And I really like that idea. I think that it makes for a cool visual. And I mean, the underwater stunts are extremely well shot. So this is a movie that I can't rank it too low because it does have a lot of cool stuff going for it. Like I said, I absolutely love what they do with the underwater scenes and the camera work down there. I just think story and character wise, it's like I've seen this movie before. You can't fool me. And not only have I seen it before, I've seen it a million times. And then again with the whole absolving the father of any guilt or liability. Once he's like not possessed anymore, he's like, "Oh, the pool still requires a sacrifice. I'll go." And then he gets this like noble sacrifice, but it's like, weren't you just trying to kill your kid like 5 minutes ago in movie time? And it even I love Wyatt Russell as an actor, but he was, and I don't want to hold this against him. He's not at all believable when he's being possessed because no one could be, because it's so poorly written. It's like you have the sequence where the mom is in the pool trying to save her son, and the dad is in the house trying to stop the daughter from getting help for the mom and the son. And it's like the underwater stuff was really cool to watch, but it keeps cutting back to the same old dad is possessed and or evil story trying to kill us. And it's like, this has been done. It was done really well in The Shining, and it was done not so well in the 2005 Amityville Horror remake. And why are you doing this again? Why are you taking it? It's very cookie cutter. And the reason, no, normally I wouldn't get like this upset or this mad about a movie, but this one really frustrated me because if it was just like a generic run of the mill PG-13 studio supernatural horror film that was lazy and derivative of everything else, I wouldn't really care. It frustrates me because this movie actually does have potential. It has really good stuff in it, and with a better script, it could have been really, really good. And that's what frustrates me so much. It's like, I used to be a teacher. So it's like you have the student that always, if they're lucky, they get a C or a D, and that's the best they can do. And you're like, you know what? You passed. Good for you. You did the best you can. But then you have the student that is capable of getting like an A or a B, but they got lazy on their project and they turned in a D assignment. And you're like, I know you can do better than this. That's how I feel about this movie. I know it could have been better. And that's why it frustrated me so much. But again, this is just my channel. These are my thoughts. I'm curious. What did you think? Let me know in the comments. Did you like Night Swim? Did you not like it? What did you like or not like about it? What are did you notice the same things? Is there anything I missed in my analysis of it? Let me know. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. If you don't, you may end up trapped at the bottom of a haunted pool and not even in a good movie like Infinity Pool, but a terrible movie like Night Swim. And as always, every day is Halloween.